podcast that celebrates not having your shit together. On today's episode, we have the delightful Joey Phillips. Joey is an actor who started his career at the age of 13 with a breakthrough role as Michael in the original cast of Billy Elliot the Musical. He then ventured into numerous TV and film roles that included Jimmy McGovern's critically acclaimed Accused for the BBC and the leading role of Eddie in Stephen Cookson's My Angel, for which he won Best Newcomer at the Monaco International Film Festival for his performance. Joey then trained at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama and after graduating went on to perform in theatres such as the RSC, the Lowry in Manchester and Dublin's the Gate Theatre. I know Joey from Outlander, which he joined in season 7, where he portrays the role of Denzel Hunter. We talk in this episode about his transition from child actor to fully grown adult actor and what it's been like joining such a big show like Outlander. He's absolutely fab. I'm sure you're going to love him if you don't already. Here's Joey Phillips. Hey Joey.
Hey Caitlin.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for traversing London.
I know, it's been quite an epic journey, but so worth it to see you.
And you used to live in these ends?
I did, back in my old stomping ground, which is actually so nice to be back, literally a couple of streets away.
That's
almost.
nice.
Yeah.
London feels small when it's like that, when you kind of get to know an area.
Yeah, for sure. And like, because I live far out now, every time I come into London, I go past all of the other places I used to live. So it's a nice little trip down memory lane. Yeah.
And because you're from up near me, really, aren't you?
Yeah, northwest.
All Northerners in the room. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise you were a Northerner, Anne.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you from?
Well, I can say to you, and you're not going to laugh, I'm from Ramsbottom.
Oh no, I do know where Ramsbottom is. I did a radio advert in a chip shop in Ramsbottom.
What the hell?
Yeah, when I was doing
God.
The Sound of Music.
Wow, that was your big break.
That was my big break. Yeah.
We all do that.
Oh, 161.
God. Oh my God. Gosh.
Yeah, no, I'm from Lytham, little town Lytham St Anne's on the sea. Yeah.
Hilarious that I watched Traitors season 2. Absolute. Phenomenal.
Oh my God!
Phenomenal
this was
program.
mental. Yeah, tell the story.
So we're all obsessed with Traitors, and watching it. And I think I looked away and I heard this voice and I was like, I fucking know that voice. Whose voice is that? And I was like, Joey. It's Joey's voice. And then I looked and it wasn't Joey. It was
Ross.
Ross.
Yeah.
It was Ross, and I was like, Ross has Joey's voice. So I text you and I was like, this is going to be really random, but do you know that Ross has your voice? And you were like, no fucking way. He's literally from.
Yeah, we're from literally the same place, and I went to school with his brother and his sister, and I used to do drama. Diane. Yeah, literally. And I totally had not even realised, because I think I'd watched like one episode at this point, or like two. I was about to watch episode 3 was when it was the big revelation.
The big reveal.
And my sister had texted me, she's like, you know who Ross and Diane are, by the way? And I was like, no, who? And she was like, it's Michael and Lisa's brother / mum. And I was like, oh my God, because I used to do drama with them.
Oh my God.
And nobody else noticed. Like, even my friends, after I was like, how the fuck did you
pick up on it?
Specifically pick up on like where we're from?
It's like the same kind of flat.
Thank you.
It's a lovely voice. Sure. But it's just quite like a specific northern accent,
I think so, because I never realised I even like had an accent until I came to London, obviously. Yeah. And everyone was like, hey, up alright, lad. And I was like, yeah.
Oh my God.
But how funny, yeah.
So
but all my friends, they were like, what? I can't hear it at all. But I was like, no, it's mental that Caitlin spotted that.
I really did,
So well done.
Hilarious. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What a great shout out, Traitors.
Yeah.
Okay, on a scale of shit to together, how are you feeling today?
Oh, the big $1 million question. Yeah. I think today I'm gonna go like smack bang in the middle with 5. Why? Because I never really feel like I've got my shit together. Anyway, so it's probably
7's like high.
7 would be high, I would say, and like the weather's kind of grim and all of that sort of stuff. But on the flip side of it, I woke up feeling positive. Nice. I went to the gym, which is a new thing. But I like hell before you go, like the worst idea ever. No one wants to do it. No one wants to go. It's raining, like horrendous, but then you do genuinely feel better after it. Yeah. So I felt better. I then caught up with some like emails that I've been like really
some admin.
Doing my admin, which I've been really avoiding. Wow. Which made me feel better, and I get to hang out with you.
Oh, cute. Yeah. I found, because I'm similar, like I have started going to like gym classes this year.
Have you? Nice.
But it's because like it's like forced structure.
Yeah.
Because I think otherwise I'll be like, yeah, I'll go to the gym, and then it'll be like 3 hours into my day and I still haven't gone.
Yeah.
But like having to attend, maybe it's like the school child in me. It's like having to attend the register.
Absolutely.
And I like hate it, obviously. But then when I leave, I feel like I've achieved something with the day, and like mentally I've noticed such a shift.
Yeah, and it's nice to have someone sort of like shouting at you, telling you what to do. I love that.
I don't even have to think.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. That's so good. Okay, on that then, what does having your shit together mean to you?
Having your shit together, to me, I think, is probably just being like super secure and comfortable in yourself, giving yourself like space to talk, and not sort of be like, do you know what I mean? Anyway, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've just said it.
It's fine, it's a 5 day.
Yeah, it's a 5 day, exactly. But people who can really just like hold their space in like not in an arrogant way, not in the whole room has to see, but self-assuredness, yes.
Yeah.
And specifically, I have like one friend in my mind, Kate, that I think of as like the idealistic having your shit together person.
Yeah.
Just like very beautiful, very successful, like always perfectly turned out. Like beautiful house, married, beautiful daughter, like a beautiful cat. Just everything's beautiful and everything's great. And she's really someone that I always feel like every word that she says, everyone kind of hangs off. But it's so funny because speaking to her, she has a hang up of like speaking, and maybe not so much anymore, but back in the day used to very much be like find it really hard to articulate herself. So it's just funny people's perceptions of having your shit together, I guess.
So is that what you think it is then? It's kind of like the balance of all of those things, so feeling like you can take up space but then also dressing well, and I think like taking care of yourself, and like cooking. I think if people can cook, I think that's having your shit together. I'm like such a bad cook, and I can make breakfast. I'm really good at breakfast / brunch. What's the breakfast?
Well, I'm really good at making eggs, however way you want.
Okay.
Yeah, and then bacon if you're a meat eater. And really nice bit of crispy bacon, some like vine tomatoes on there. It's really thinly sliced avocado with some chili oil and cracked salt and pepper. All of that going on, and I liked like rocket and all that health in there. Yeah. So I feel like I like doing that, but I hate making dinner.
Give up.
I can't. Yeah, I honestly can't, and I hate the act of cooking.
Wow.
I hate it. Stresses me out.
Really?
One time, so like during lockdown, I was living at home, and so we were doing like HelloFresh or one of those things. And I'd started to get into it. I was like, oh, this is good. It's like step by step telling me what to do. And I felt like quite chill and whatever. And then one of the recipes was like cooking duck. Okay. Frying like duck breasts, I guess. And I've never cooked before, right? And the instructions were literally just like, make sure the pan's really hot. And then like cook the duck really hot and then add water. That's all it said, add water. So I was like, sure, add water. And I added water to this like hot fat, and it literally was like a firework exploded in the kitchen. God. It was like firing in my face, firing all of it. I was like screaming in the kitchen.
Stress.
My parents like were running in like, what the hell's going on? And I was like, ah. And they were like, why would you ever add water to fat? And I was like, how am I supposed to know?
Oh my God.
So that kind of scarred me.
That is chaos.
Yeah, but we've just got an air fryer, very exciting.
I'm hearing great things about air fryers.
Honestly, like that might be a game changer for me. For me and my flatmate Shiv, he's worse than I am.
Really?
We love a Deliveroo, we love an Uber Eats.
That's fine.
But cooking, we're not so much. So now we've got the air fryer. Maybe it's a game changer.
Wow, what are you cooking in it? TBC.
Fish and rice curry. Literally chicken, vegetables and rice, or salmon, vegetables and rice. Not very exciting.
Because I went through a phase, like I tried the HelloFresh stuff, but it stressed me out because they send you like the vegetables and stuff like that, don't you? But my life was so sporadic that I felt like it was sat there judging me because I didn't have the time to do it. Like I'm so like on the go all the time that actually carving out the time, and also when you're doing it for one, like
I know, it's so
everything
sad.
goes off so quickly. Like honestly, and it used to stress me out, and I'd feel judged by like that aubergine that had been sat there not used for like the week.
I so agree. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's coming up to Pancake Day.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. What's your fave style of a pancake?
My favourite style is like an American pancake. It's like a little fat one.
Fatty,
I love them so much because when we were kids, my dad would always make like the most amazing pancakes, but my sister likes the thin ones and I like the thin ones, the thick ones.
Yeah.
And apparently you needed 2 different batters. So he'd always make 2 different batters for us.
Cute.
And do like a big stack of stuff, and we'd have like syrup and squirty cream and all
what's going on in
fruit and stuff like
pancakes?
that. Yeah, always maple syrup, squirty cream. I mean, I'm dairy intolerant, so I can't really have it anymore, but once a year, you know. Some berries on there. I mean, I'm not like a lemon and a sugar person.
Oh, I'm a lemon and a sugar person.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
But no, I think syrup and squirty cream.
Oh, yeah.
They're quite stunning, actually.
I like the activity, like pancakes I can get behind because you kind of want to fail a little bit.
Yeah. The uglier the better, kind of.
100%.
And I like making them for my dogs. I can make them in a bone shape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, come on. Not to brag, but yeah, we make them a little.
Can't make dinner, but can't make dogs.
Exactly. That is such a what's the word? Something about my life.
Yeah.
But
symbol.
It's such a symbol of my life. Yeah, but style over substance.
Yeah.
Very much.
Wow. Okay. Before the podcast, I asked you to think of an object that makes you feel like you've got your shit together.
Yes.
What's that?
Quite boring,
Okay.
but it's my little pocket diary. And this is only the second one I've ever had in my life.
Wow,
I've never
okay.
had like an organised calendar or diary or anything. I
Yeah.
always keep everything in my head.
That's chaos.
Which is chaos. So chaotic. And like my head is already so loud anyway.
Wow.
That I always but like to me that was just so normal to
Yeah.
keep everything in my head. And I was
Yeah.
like, why would I write everything down? I'll just remember it.
Yeah.
But now I've really found that I need like to put things down or I will just forget it. And like
Yeah.
even like going for like dinner with friends and stuff, I'm like, oh shit, I need to write
I need
that
to
in.
like visually tangible.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes me feel better about my like non-structured life to like look and be like, oh great, I have something to do this
a
week.
cup of tea.
Yeah, I know.
It's a big day this Thursday.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's so pathetic. But like, I was just on the phone to my friend Rose, and we were chatting, and I was like, "Oh yeah, and it's Jordan's birthday on Sunday." And she was like, "Well, he's not text me. I've not heard anything." And I said, "Oh no, he's not doing anything. I'm just trying to fill up my diary, and I'm just putting everyone's birthdays in," which is quite tragic. But I treated myself to like a really nice one, which I did last year as well, because I'm like, if it's really nice, I'll want to use
stationery.
it. Yeah. So that is, but so now it makes me feel like I've got my shit together because I think it's quite a grown-up thing to have a diary, to remember things, to remember people's birthdays, even like, and to send a text and whatever on the day. I think that's like really nice. My mum always had a big address book, but it would always have everyone's anniversaries, birthdays, everything in.
My mum had that.
Yeah, really good, and just like a really nice way to be, I think, because it's like thoughtful of other people, but it also helps yourself. So I think
that's cool.
That's mine.
Are you feeling more organised then?
I am.
Or is it like the illusion of organisation?
No, I think I am feeling more organised, definitely, and I like to like check things off as well. So also it will make me do things. So like in my little diary, I'll put like reply to this email, sort this out, do this, and then if I look again, I'm like, oh no, I actually need to do this by the end of the day, and then I've achieved all of that.
Yeah,
which I think is quite nice.
I like that. Okay, so obviously we know each other from being on the TV show Outlander, which you have just done your first season, about to go back for your second.
Yes.
And we actually haven't been on set together.
No, we've not actually filmed together, I know.
Yeah, we like completely missed each other.
Yeah.
Although you spotted me in the airport.
Yes, I know, which was so embarrassing because it was still at the time we were all wearing masks.
Right,
still.
okay.
And so at this point, even me and Izzy hadn't met.
Right.
Yeah. And so, but I knew that we were coming together because it was like our first day the next day, I think.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were both living in the same area. So I was like, I'm sure we'll be at the same airport, like whatever. And then I was convinced that this girl was Izzy. She had a mask on, she had this like lovely long hair, and I was like, that's definitely Izzy. And I was like, is it too awkward to go up and say hi, or is it more awkward to just ignore her?
Yeah.
And so like you're kind of looking at each other like over these masks and whatever. And so then I just thought I'm gonna like follow her around.
Oh my God.
Boots or WH Smith or whatever for a little bit. And I was like really following this girl around, but like trying to be like sort of caught off guard, like, oh sorry, hey, didn't realise it was you. And then this girl, as I got like gradually closer, like creeping
More
up to this
confident.
girl, and I was about to introduce myself, she turned around and like fully stared in my face, and I
Oh my
realized it wasn't
God.
Izzy, and I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing.
Jeez.
Like, and I just didn't say anything and went and like sat down. And so I was like, I can't like move another muscle. I can't look at another person in the eye. Like, I hate myself. And then I saw you, and I was like, that's definitely Caitlin. But like, we don't know each other, and I'm not going to embarrass myself. And I just was like in a pool of self-loathing, so I just avoided you.
Oh my God, that's so funny. For context, Izzy plays your sister in the show, right?
Yes,
so
she
you
does.
guys were going to be working together.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And like a lot of our season 7 part 1 bits were together. It was like me and Izzy and John and Charles, which was so nice. That was such a lovely little like
unit.
group to have. Yeah, totally felt like that. And it was such a shame that like you and Paul were like at the beginning, and then we missed you guys, because that would have been so fun to all be together.
Yeah. But then we met for like the first time properly in Paris, didn't we?
Yeah,
Which is
what
so
a romantic.
But and that was like beautiful, and that's like an amazing part of this job, which I never expected, was all the conventions and like the fan conventions and people inviting you out. And then we've also been in Kansas together. I mean, traveling the world together.
Literally seeing the world.
But you've done quite a lot of. You've worked quite a lot, but I imagine this is the first show that has had that aspect of it.
Yeah, for sure.
How
I think.
have you found like coming into the world of Outlander and like the machine of it and all of those things?
I mean, it was obviously like really intimidating, I think,
Yeah.
at first, because the fan base is so dedicated, and a lot of them have read the books before, so
Yeah.
they've already lived with these characters before you have.
And they know them better than you.
They
in
know
a
them
way.
better than you, of
Yeah.
course, and they have a vision in their mind of what they want for that character.
Mm-hmm.
So already you're like almost set up to fail, because you're like, how can I ever achieve this idealistic version of this character?
Yeah.
But then you have to kind of take autonomy on it and be like, you know what, this is my version of the character. I can do what my sort of truth is in this story, and with my peers, or what the thing that we're making together.
Yeah.
Like the TV show and the books do like differ a lot.
Yeah.
So it kind of becomes its own thing.
Yeah.
And I think working with such amazing people, I think I felt comfortable really quickly. I think obviously the first day was kind of hell because we were sat in our trailers for so long, and like luckily the night before Izzy and I did meet, and we ended up spending like hours together and got on so well, and literally was like
which
we've known
helps
each other our whole
much,
life for sure. And then the next day we were in our trailers all day, everything was being pushed behind, it was getting later and later and later. And then we get like a knock on our trailer door, and it's Louisa, who is our PR woman for Outlander. And she was like, hey guys, sorry, this is not a normal thing to do, but I don't think you're going to be used today. So can we do like your first bit of like BTS together?
Oh my God, yeah.
And just pretend that you've been filming. And we were like, okay. So then we're really thrown in the deep end, and we have to like talk about all this stuff to do with Outlander and the people that we've met and stuff. And like, I haven't met anyone at this point. And I'm just like, I
saw Caitlin in the airport.
I stalked Caitlin for a bit. So that was quite an intense sort of first day. But then as soon as we actually met everybody, like John is the best at just putting
takes
everyone
people
at
under
ease.
his wing.
Under his wing. Katrina is amazing. Sam is amazing. And also Charles was new as well. So it was so nice to have Izzy and Charles.
That new energy that you all kind of brought into it. And it was like, you felt it within the existing cast as well. That there's like, because I think kind of you were the biggest cohort of like series regulars that were coming in late on in the show.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this season 7 feels quite different to all the other seasons anyway. It's like storyline wise as well. So it felt almost like a new sort of beginning of Outlander. So it felt it was intense at the beginning, but it's been amazing, genuinely. Like we're a family, but but it really does.
But
feel
I
like
think
that.
Sam and Katrina, I remember this from when I started, they set such a precedence of warmth and friendliness in a way that like, and they have like no ego. So no one can have more of an ego than them, because they literally the only people who are entitled to an ego. So therefore everyone has to be really lovely.
Exactly.
And it is, you just become so like welcomed into it quite quickly.
Yeah, so welcomed into it. And like they take it so seriously, being like number 1 and number 2, and they really care about everyone, and they care about the show, which is like so amazing, because I know like on other long running shows, like the stars of the show could become like complacent or sort of jaded even, and but they're so not, I don't think. And and they've been really lovely. Like, I loved all my scenes. I did more scenes with Katrina than I did with Sam. And so everyone that I had with Katrina, I was just like, you
Standing
are the
so hard.
most amazing woman in the world.
She does have that effect.
I truly was like, I'm like joining the Katrina Bell Stan Club, or just making my own. But she's been amazing, and Sam's been amazing, and everyone is genuinely so nice. Everyone on the show, and that's like when you were saying about the conventions, getting to work with people that you wouldn't have had before. So like me and Izzy in particular were very starstruck by Mark Lewis Jones.
Yep.
So I was like, oh my God, he's so amazing. And then had the time of my life, like getting to know him. He's the sweetest, kindest, nicest man. And it was just so fun getting to know him.
Yeah, downtime with people.
Yeah.
It's kind of an equalizer because you're all in this like random new city and you're exploring it together, and then you're like held for hours.
Yeah.
in a room with no windows.
Yeah.
But like, I think we felt the same about like Gary Lewis, for example.
Oh my
Just
God,
absolutely obsessed with him.
legend.
Like, Billy Elliot's dad, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But like, and we were just going all a bit crazy, but he was so good at keeping us entertained.
Oh my
and then we
God.
like formed this
band,
Oh God,
Gary's
it was
band.
like, it was chaos. But he was hilarious. It's like, don't meet your heroes, but only meet Gary Lewis.
But
amazing.
Please, if you do, let them be Gary Lewis.
Yeah. And Tim Downey. Like,
I haven't met
another-
Tim,
oh my
but
God,
I know that.
what
like,
a dream!
I know.
What a dream! He's been on the podcast. Ant's met Tim.
I know. I'm so
He's
jealous.
the
And
best.
I know, and that's what I
Yeah.
hear from everyone.
Yeah.
Just the glowing
Such
reviews.
a delight. So on Billy Elliot then. Nice segue.
Nice
thank
segue,
you.
yeah.
Thank you so much. So, how did you get into acting?
How did I get into
Yeah.
acting? So I have always been very obsessed with my sister.
I thought you were going to say I've always been very obsessed with myself.
I've been obsessed with myself, darling, and I thought, how can I monetize
Get
this?
more eyes on this.
No, so I was always like obsessed with my sister. She's 4 years older than me, and we've
Great.
always been like super close.
Yeah.
And she just went to this like local jazz and drama
Great.
group called Rainbow Dance Studio.
Stunning.
Yeah. And so I wanted to go as well.
Yeah.
And you had to be 7 to join, but I was 4 at this time, and I was like demanding to go. And I always loved like putting on shows at home and like dancing around and running around and getting dressed up and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So then my dad took me, and they were like, "No, sorry, it has to be 7. Like they just don't have the attention span." And my dad was like, "He will not leave us alone." He was like, "Can he come for just one night so he can experience it?" And then we'll be like, "Look, you had this one time, but you've got to wait till you're 7."
Yeah.
And they were kind of like, "Fine, he can come for one night."
Wow.
And I just like loved it so much, and I took it so seriously, and like was just so obsessed that when they came to pick me up, my mum and dad, and the teacher was just like, "He can stay forever." Like he just like loved it so much, and I was the only boy as well, because like I think in the world of like dance especially, and like
at
up
that
north at that
age,
age, like. You know, but I just loved it so much. And like, even at primary school, my mum came to, well, I think the first one actually is when I think I was like 3.
Yeah.
We had to do a water dance where we were all dressed up in like black cloaks with like stars stuck on us, and we had some crepe paper to like wave around as water. And then the parents had to come and watch, and my mum came and sat with all the other mums, and obviously all the other kids are like, "What the fuck is this?" And just sort of stumbling over their crepe paper and stuff. And I was there in the middle, and I was like whipping my arms around and had like this like dead stare of like, this is my moment. And my mum, all the other parents were like, "Wow, isn't he great?" And my mum was pissing herself, like, "What the hell is he doing?" So yeah, it's always just been something I've wanted to do. And then so I went to various like amateur clubs and stuff like that. I did a lot of musical theatre when I was a kid. And then my mate Josh was going to these open auditions for Billy Elliot. And he was like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "I mean, sure." And I like asked my parents, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, it's in Manchester. It's quite far away. Like,
big city."
It's a big city, exactly. And they were like, "Okay, you can go," but like they were very good at even like at that age of sort of like grounding me in a way of just like
You're not really water.
yes, you know what I mean. So I didn't really go for like any expectations that I'd get into the show. I just wanted to go and see what an audition was.
Yeah.
So I went there, and I just loved it for some weird reason. Like, they made us do so much random stuff. Like, we had to go across the room diagonally and do like some random leap and just make it up, and the bigger the better. I was like, done. And then like we had to do like bits of dance and bits of singing, bits of improvisation, bits of acting, and I just kind of threw myself into it, and then got into what was called Billy School, which is, I think there was maybe like 12 of us at the time. I think like 10,000 people auditioned crazily.
And this was the first iteration of Billy Elliot.
So like it hadn't gone on yet, but they were
Right.
basically at this point, I hadn't even heard that it was going to be a musical, but at this point they were already looking for the next Billy and Michael, but it hadn't
Wow.
started yet, because kids, you're at that age where you grow up so quickly.
Yeah.
They kind of need to start churning them out.
Oh my god.
So I then went to this Billy school, which was like every Saturday in Leeds, and bless my dad and my mum would drive me all the way to Leeds
my
and wait
God.
from 9 till 6, and we'd be like an hour of tap, an hour of ballet, an hour of singing, an hour of this,
Wow.
an hour of acrobatics,
Big
which
camp.
I was not good at.
Acrobatics?
Bless me,
Oh my
trying to do
God.
like a
Tumbles.
backhand spring or whatever. And some of the boys were so amazing.
Yeah.
But then it got, I think we did that for like months and months and months.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where we went to London for the final audition, and it was like Stephen Daldry was there, and Jess Ronan, and all these amazing people, like Lee Hall, Peter Darling,
Yeah.
The whole creative team. And we spent a few days in London doing all the scenes, because at that point I was auditioning for Billy and Michael.
Wow.
And then
What can't he do?
you know. They said, okay, come back in the room to do your Michael song and just do whatever you want. There's no rules.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, you don't have to tell me twice. And I literally went wild, and I jumped up on their desk. I kicked all their papers off. I like
Rockstar.
totally just went crazy.
Yeah.
And they were kind of laughing, but also I think a bit like, what the fuck is this boy? And then then I finished it and came out, and I was a bit
Yeah.
like, oh my God, what the hell have I just done? Because I was like 12 at this time.
Yeah.
And then I went home, and a couple of days later got the call to say, we want to offer you the part
Oh my
of
God.
Michael. So then I went and joined the show, meaning to be the next cast. But then James and Ashley, so the show had just opened.
Yeah.
Then James and Ashley, who were the original Billy and Michael, lost their voices, and they started to break. And so me and Leon kind of got
Devastated.
thrown on in the deep end
Wow.
with the original cast. And so, yeah, then I started with the original cast and did it for a
my
year. And then
God.
my voice broke, and I brutally then got cut.
That's so devastating.
I know, it really is. It's
Yeah.
like as soon as your voice breaks, you're out. There's no...
But weren't you all like living this like high life in like London
Yeah.
in this house
Oh
of
my
like
God.
child actors? It sounds chaotic.
No,
It
Kaylee,
sounds like something from Oliver Twist. Like
it was like Oliver Twist meets like Fame. It was like crazy, and like stories that I can't even repeat on
Oh
this
my
podcast.
God.
But we were out of control, and we were
Yeah.
known as the naughtiest kids in the West End
Yeah.
because we were all these just normal northern kids.
Yeah.
We weren't like Sylvia Young stage school kids.
Yeah.
We were all from the north, and no one had ever done anything like this. We lived in
Yeah.
this huge house in Ealing Broadway with a pool.
Oh my God.
And we were just sort of running riot the whole time,
Yeah.
and like we all were in bunk beds in the same rooms in this massive house. We got tutored, so we didn't really go to school. We got like tutored, but like bless our tutor, there's like 12 kids in there. 3 girls, and the rest are all boys. They're all at different ages.
Oh my
How the
God.
hell can you like
Control that.
control
yeah.
that? So that was kind of mental, yeah. But then also we'd be like flown to Nice for Elton John's party on a
Oh
private
my
plane, and then we'd
God.
go to his house for like Sunday dinner, which was
That's
like insane.
so
It's like, what
wild.
life are we
Yeah.
living? And I remember one of my friends, we all went out to TK Maxx one day,
Very nice.
which was very very
yourself.
exciting. Treat
Yeah.
yourself with all that money, West End baby. And we all got designer sunglasses. Right, and he got a pair of Prada ones, which were like these big like ski goggle ones, and we were leaving the stage door one night, and to be honest, that it was kind of in those days when it was quite crazy at the stage door. They like the
Yeah.
streets would be full of people
Yeah.
wanting autographs and your photo and stuff, and you're like 12, you're like sure, and he put these sunglasses on just before we were about to walk out. Bear in mind it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, no, I need to. I'm basically the new Victoria Beckham.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I mean, fair play.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a wild
That
wild
must have
time.
been so strange though, from such a young age being held up quite highly in like such success.
Yeah.
And then when like something out of your control, like your voice breaking, did it feel like plummeting back down?
I mean, it was really weird because in Billy, you'd always go home for like 2 or 3 days a
Yeah.
month, and you'd always go back to school
Yeah.
for like that one day, and I honestly felt like a celebrity. Like I loved it so much. Everyone would like run up to you, and there'd be crowds of people, and you'd be like, yeah, I'm just back from London just over the day, and like I loved it so much.
With
but-
your glasses.
yeah, with my Prada ski goggles. But my parents were always like, this is incredible. We're so
Yeah.
proud of you, but you also need to do your schoolwork, do your
Yeah.
exams, and all of that. So I
Yeah.
always knew that I'd be coming back to school. I wasn't like, I'm a star.
Yeah.
Billy just felt like some wild, fun experience. But even at that time, it didn't feel like, oh, this is my career for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It was a bit like, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to go back to normal life, which is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And then I started doing bits of like TV and stuff, and
Yeah.
I'd like have to leave school for a bit to do a bit of
Yeah.
filming, which I thought was quite cool as well.
Yeah.
But my parents were always like, still come back and
Yeah.
you've got to get your GCSEs, you've got to get your A levels.
Yeah.
So I was always like very grounded, and my friends and my family have always been like very like grounding and very normal. So even though my life was quite chaotic at that time and quite hard for a child to process as well,
Yeah.
like people filming you all the time and taking your photo and
Yeah.
wanting autographs and stuff, to then suddenly nothing.
Yeah.
It's a bit like mental. But I remember being not bothered, being excited to go back to
Yeah.
school and hang out with my friends again
That's
for
cool.
a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've had quite a unique experience, really, in terms of like you were a child actor, but then you also went to drama school.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've kind of come out the other side of that as well. Because like someone like John, for example, or Izzy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
who were like child actors, and that's a very unique experience in terms of your relationship with the industry. I think you have to grow up quite quickly, but
Yeah,
you're
for
also
sure.
kind of, you see it through a different lens, I think, whereas drama school, I think, brings a different awareness of the industry.
Yeah.
Because it's quite brutal.
Yeah.
How was that, like, that relationship between the two things?
Yeah, it was, I mean, quite tricky. I mean, because so after Billy, I then started doing bits of TV
Mm.
and stuff, and then I did a film,
Yeah.
and which I loved. I mean, it's not a great film, but I loved it, and there was some
Yeah.
amazing actors in there.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to them at the time, being like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. Like, should I go to
Yeah.
drama school?" And a lot of their advice was like, "Oh, if you're working now,
don't
just
need
carry
it,
on.
yeah.
Just kind of go for it." So I kind of had in my mind that like, "Oh, I'm not going to go to drama school.
Right.
I'm just going to carry on and be a star." Which, spoiler, didn't happen. And it was only when I went back to sixth form,
Yeah.
my amazing drama teachers there, especially Miss Dearden, she has always been like so supportive of me from being like in year 7. She was like, I really think you'd benefit from going to drama school. Like you'd learn so much about text and like
Yeah,
Shakespeare and
yeah.
plays and like all the stuff that I had no knowledge of, because I'd gone from musicals to screen and
Yeah.
totally like missed like theatre
Yeah.
and plays, and the only knowledge I had of Shakespeare was in English, which was
Yeah.
just
Boring.
ruined it completely.
Yeah, oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
And I was like, I hate Shakespeare, it's so
Yeah.
boring, whatever. So then I was like, oh, I'll audition and I'll go to drama school. And I weirdly like enjoyed auditioning for drama school. And I kind of just had a confidence that I would get in, not like a cockiness or an arrogance, but like just a confidence that I would kind of get in. And so when I did get in, and I was like decided I'd go to Guildhall, the night before I just completely changed my mind, and I was like, I'm not going, I'm absolutely not
Oh
going,
my
I don't want to go,
gosh.
it's going to be full of dickheads,
Yeah.
like they're all going to be like twats, they're not
Yeah.
on my like vibe. I was like, I
Yeah.
like my life as it is, I like my friends, I don't want my
Yeah.
life to change. I specifically remember saying I don't want my life to change. And my parents were like, look, you do want to go, and listed all these reasons of why it was
Yeah.
beneficial and stuff like that. So then I did go, and I think for the first like 3 months I didn't really like click with it, and I was very much sort of like faking enjoying my time like with everyone. Like I
Yeah.
remember being at like a flat party and everyone was like having a time of their lives, and we were all like going crazy in this kitchen, and I remember in my head thinking, these aren't my friends, I just want my friends.
Yeah.
And then it's something, I don't know what happened, but after sort of like Christmas, something just totally changed, and I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And those people now are like my best friends ever
Yeah.
from the year, and we're all still really close. And so I took drama school as a different thing, I think.
Yeah.
I saw it more about like me growing as a person,
Yeah.
rather than like using all these tools and stuff, which maybe is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe I should have like taken on more of what was being said to
Yeah.
me. But I needed the drama school experience for a different thing. I think I needed that uni experience. I needed
Yeah.
to also grow my like horizons as a person, because I think as much as I loved my life before, it was very small. I did live in this little tiny
Yeah.
town and was quite sort of sheltered. And so going to London and learning all this new stuff was amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that I did go to drama
Yeah.
school.
That's amazing.
But what I think it didn't really prepare us for is for being like out of work and for being like a jobbing actor.
Yeah.
I think subconsciously or consciously, they kind of put into your head that like everyone that comes to this drama school is a star. Like look at the people that have been before, and they get the only people they get back to talk to you
the successful
are like
ones.
Ewan McGregor and all these like huge stars.
Yeah.
So of course you're like, well, that's going to be me.
Yeah.
And then you leave and it's not you, and I think that's when people really struggle.
Yeah. I always remember, I think I've said it a few times on this podcast, but like the best advice someone gave to me was being an actor isn't about when you're in work, it's about how you are when you're out of work.
Totally.
And being able to maintain the mental
Yeah.
stability to keep pursuing it, really. A time in your life where you felt like you really had your shit together.
Never really, but I think specifically quite recently is when we were in New York for the premiere of Outlander season 7. That just felt like a really special time, and it felt like everything kind of had fallen into place at the right time and in the right way. I think we'd literally just finished filming season 7 part 2. And then we were fresh into sort of doing press for this. I'd done a few sort of like photo shoots and like interviews and all of that, which felt like very fun, like quite scary and intimidating. But after you've done one, it's like, oh, this is kind of fun and cool. And then we got like flown business class, which was very fancy, and I'd never done that before. And it was just really fun to be in. Like, I love New York anyway. It's like one of my favorite places. And so to be there with all those
like New York
guys,
wanted you.
exactly going there for work. It's like when does that
so
ever happen?
Cool.
And like we got to work with like stylists and stuff, so like everything was like, I felt like I had my shit together because like every single day I had a real structure. I knew exactly what time I was up, what I was doing, what I was wearing. Like didn't have to think about what I was wearing because it was already planned out. Someone to do your hair. Do you know what I mean? Like everything was just taken care of you. Like cars to wherever we were going. A full day of press junkets. So you just felt you were constantly busy, and it felt like a whirlwind, but like a really exciting whirlwind. And it felt like, I don't know, like I just felt quite proud of myself in that week. And proud for like my family as well, because it was just a nice thing for them to be able to watch as well. So I think that time I really felt like, oh yeah, I think I do. I think I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I guess in a way, in comparison to like when you were a kid and you were just kind of, I don't know, not that you accidentally ended up in it, but like maybe you weren't as present with it. Whereas
totally.
like you can value it more because you've had time out of work.
Absolutely.
So therefore when you're having situations like this, you're like, oh my God, like this thing that I've worked for, and I know the cost of it when you're not in it as well.
Yes,
you know?
And I think, being an actor, there's so many times that are shit, so you really have to celebrate the good times. And I'm like a really big advocate of like celebrating your friends' achievements as well. Like someone else's success isn't your failure. And so I think whenever there's a moment that you can celebrate something in this industry, because it is so hard, I think you absolutely should. And like you said, as a kid, I didn't really take it on. It was more, I was just having fun. I wasn't like, I didn't need to make money. I didn't need to like build my career. And even to like the point of auditions, I would never work on an audition. I wouldn't even learn my lines. Like how the hell I got any part as a kid, I don't know. But like, so you're so right that because it's cost you so much to get there, you appreciate it more, I think.
Did you return to TK Maxx for another celebratory pair of
I treated myself to a
Pradas.
pair of Pradas,
Okay, in opposition to that then, a time in your life where you definitely didn't have your shit together.
Well, I think literally for like the whole of my 20s, I just feel like I was kind of a mess. Not like fully a mess, but like definitely had times. But a very specific time, I just left drama school, and me and my mate Theo moved into like a living guardian scheme. Like, do you know what that is?
Yeah. So it's like when there's a property that's empty and they need people to live there so that it doesn't get like squatted in?
Exactly, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, so they're like, they're usually being waited. They're usually waiting to be turned into like flats.
Right.
So you don't know how long you're going to be in there.
But it's cheaper rent, isn't it? So
It's
that's
cheaper.
Why it's, like,
it's not like crazy cheap, but it
Yeah.
is cheaper, and you get to live in like zone 1, so that's great. But they're like old police stations or old office buildings or whatever. So me and him, we were living in Angel,
Mm-hmm.
and our rooms it was an old office building, so we had a glass partition in between our bedrooms. We had mattresses on the floor.
Oh my God.
And these are like makeshift places. Like the kitchen was hell. Like you're sharing with like 16 people.
Yeah.
No one cleans it. No one takes ownership for like spilled shit in the fridge.
That sounds awful.
Awful.
Yeah.
You don't have a proper cooker.
Yeah.
It's like a tabletop thing with like 2 electric hob things that don't really heat up.
Yeah.
There's no real heating in the building,
Oh
and
my
then
God.
the bathrooms are like some janky old, horrible, disgusting toilet, which again nobody cleans.
Jesus.
And then like a freezing like shower that looks like it's about to collapse.
Oh my God.
So we were living there, and then we moved. We were there for a few months, and then you literally will get like a text being like, "Oh, the building's been sold. You need to move out like tomorrow," and you're like, "For fuck's sake!"
Yeah.
And then you have to go and find another one of these places, but they don't find it for you. You have to show up on the day, and there's a huge crowd of people outside, and
my
they
God.
basically open the front door, and you race in, and you run around the building, and you come down with a floor plan, and you say, "I want this one," and you like
Serious?
yours,
Oh my
yours,
God.
yours, and then but there might be like 50 people in like 10 rooms,
Jeez.
and you're all it's like the Hunger Games. You're like fighting for these rooms.
I mean, that's like trying to rent in London anyway,
Yeah.
but, like on crack.
Yeah,
That's
literally on
mad.
crack,
Yeah,
and a lot
yeah.
of people we live with, I think, were on crack. And then the worst bit was when we moved to Dalston. So like Dalston is like fun area,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
in your early 20s.
Yeah.
And like I loved it. I like went out a lot and stuff.
Yeah.
But we lived with this guy called Jack, who we called the king of the scrats, because he like collected all of these scrats that we lived with, and they just were obsessed with him. He was like a cult leader.
Oh my
And he was
God.
the worst. He was like this posh boy that was like a hippie, and he used to like cook ketamine on the hob. Yeah, in the
No.
morning when
Sorry,
you're trying to
Breaking
make.
Bad.
Yeah, no, literally. While you're trying to make your breakfast, and like he was just so unsavory, and he would have like crazy
my
parties all the
God.
time. And so that was like just a real low point living in
Yeah.
that place,
Yeah.
having nothing of your own, nothing is clean.
Oh my
Like
God.
just so many random people living everywhere. I kind of was going through like a weird like relationship thing as
Yeah.
well. I think I was like in between jobs and was doing like kids parties and just like literally like dressing as Spider-Man, and one time this like gang of like 30-year-old, not 30-year-old, gang of 35-year-old, like 35-year-old boys ripped my costume off me, and I just had these little boxes on underneath, and I was being like dragged across the carpet by this like team of horrible little boys, and I was like, this is really a low point actually.
God. Yeah.
So, and I just felt like things just like weren't working
Wow.
out career-wise, relationship-wise.
Oh my
Just my
God.
home life was a mess because I was
Yeah.
living in this like squat essentially.
Kind of sounds like the Billy House, but if like all the Billies have like failed acting careers and like turned to cutting ketamine.
No, honestly, I mean that would be quite a good series.
less pool parties.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, that's just hell, isn't it?
It was hell.
Wow.
But
yeah.
quite fun looking back.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, hell.
Great stories,
Yeah.
man. It sounds like the artist's life in London to a
Totally.
degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, down and out.
Down and out. I was down and I was out, honestly. Yeah.
3 things that make you feel like shit.
So the first one I'd say is sleeping,
Yes.
because I quite famously have insomnia,
Uh-huh.
and I've had it for a few years now. But it's just I've tried everything.
Yeah, you really have.
I really
Yeah.
have, like every sort of herbal thing, every breathing app, every calm meditation,
God.
every like sleeping pill prescribed or
Yeah.
otherwise.
Alternative
methods. You know what I mean? And just nothing kind of works. And it's
Yeah.
not even like I'm sat there worrying about anything. It's
Yeah.
like the only way I can describe it is like someone's left like the radio on in my head, and it's just like noise or a song round and round.
Yeah,
Or
I struggle with sleep as well. Like,
Yeah.
I think we've both been walking around the halls of various hotels,
Yeah.
missing each other at nights, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, because it affects your mental health as well. It affects how
Totally.
like you. If someone says something to you, if you've not slept very well, then you can take it really
oh
personally,
my god,
or just like
absolutely.
you just feel so unresilient, don't you?
Yeah, and then especially if you're working as well,
Yeah,
like, and you
and
have
you
to
put
be
more
up at,
pressure on
like,
yourself.
Totally, because
Yeah.
like some people might not sleep the night before a big scene or whatever, but
Yeah.
that's fine because they'll catch up on their sleep.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
feel like if you can never catch on your sleep, it's just horrendous. And so if you're up at 4:30 in the morning, you feel like shit, you look like
Yeah.
shit, you're about to be on camera all day. and it's horrible, and I don't really know how to break it, and I almost get like anxiety getting into
Thinking
bed
about
now.
sleep now,
yeah,
yeah.
it's thinking about sleep.
Yeah. And it's difficult as well, isn't it? Because you say it to people. I'm so bored when I hear myself say that I'm tired.
Yeah.
Because it's like, ugh. But you say it to people and people are like, oh, you should try this.
Yeah.
You should do this. And I'm like, yeah, I've tried that. I have tried that. Like, I think my dad said, like, you should get out of bed, because the more that you lie there, the more you stress yourself out. So, like, get out of bed and, like, do some, like, boring maths or, like, tidy your room. And then I end up, like, having a very tidy room.
Yeah.
But I'm still awake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely the same.
And like try meditation apps and all of these things, and it is really frustrating when you just
and I'm
can't.
so jealous of people that can just like drop off.
Yeah,
in an
and I think
instant.
we've spoken about it before, where it's like you almost forget how to do that moment. Like my body can be so tired, and I can be lying there and I'm like, God, I'm just so tired, but it's like you forget how to like drop
Yes, exactly
into the
that.
sleep state.
Exactly that.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my appearance.
Okay.
Which I know might sound like superficial and like a bit pathetic, but I think I wish it didn't have such a hold over me and like a power over my mood, but it just does. Like I know everyone has days where they feel like not their best, not great, and like their skin might be bad one day or like whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like when that happens to me, it's like it's all I can focus on, and it almost I find it like debilitating. Like I feel like I don't want to leave the house. I feel like I can't make eye contact with anyone, and I really like and like it might not even be something that's noticeable to someone else. You know what I mean? But I think I like hone in on like any little thing that I can and sort of like pick myself apart. I don't know why, and like. I think it's like exacerbated as well if you're in a job or if you're doing something where you see your face all the time. It's like you'll be sat in the makeup trailer and like I would have to sit there for like nearly an hour because they'd curl my hair. And it would take so long to curl all this hair, and I'd just be sat
You
like
just zoom
staring
in,
at my
don't
face,
you?
zooming in at like whatever I could, and knowing that you're about to be on camera all day. And sometimes, like, say I like had like bad skin or whatever that day, that's all I could think about to the point where I'm like, it was like overriding the scene even, because I was just like, oh God, I know that I've got like a spot here and it's going to be like
On
on
camera,
camera, which it sounds so pathetic, but I don't know why. It just is something that like makes me feel like such shit and like really kind of like worthless, and like even like when you're like doing the conventions for instance are amazing, but you're often like very very tired
And getting photoed
and
all the time.
all day is just photos, and then you get tagged and like there's just reams and reams and reams of your face where you might have not felt your best, and then it makes you feel like bad again, and they're kind of just out there forever, and it's just like this horrible cycle of like feeling like shit.
It's such a weird thing, isn't it? Is that something that you've kind of always felt, or do you think it's been exacerbated by certain things?
Yeah, I think maybe when I was a kid I didn't really care as much, but I think as I got older, maybe because and maybe it comes into the fact of like really wanting people's approval and caring about other people's opinions and finding yourself in another person's opinion. Maybe, but like also it's like very. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know.
I can imagine it's tied up with like a lot of things, like specifically this industry, for example. So much of our worth is in how we look, and you know, I've said it a few times, but like when you feel so out of control with everything else, like the one thing that you can control is like how you look and like whether you're good looking or not, and stuff like that. I mean, you can't necessarily control whether you're good looking or not, but you can take steps towards like good skincare and stuff like this, or like getting your hair done a certain way, or like losing weight and everything like that. And I wonder if there's a part of it that is like that projection onto us as actors, where you're very aware that like your worth comes in how you look as well. And therefore, if you feel like you're not on top of that, then it might let you down. And there's a cost to when you're not looking good, because you might lose out on a job, or you might be met with other people's opinions of not meeting their standard of what an actor should look like or something like that.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
That, yeah. And I think as well, say you're getting like rejected from auditions or whatever, and the feedback is something like, oh, you were great, but we just went another way. You're then like, well, what was the other way? Is it because of this? Is it because of that? And you pull yourself apart, I think.
Completely.
And then you really judge yourself against other people, like maybe I should look like this or I should look like that. And maybe then I'll be successful, and maybe then I'll be happy. And do you know what I mean?
It's so exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, one more thing.
Probably not having a structure in my life. And it's ridiculous because this year in September will be like 10 years since I left drama school.
Yeah.
So you'd think I'd know.
Be used to it.
I'd be used to it,
Yeah.
or at least know how to
Yeah.
deal with that and change
Have created
things.
some structure for
Have
yourself.
created some structure for myself. And I don't know how to do it. And I wish that I did. And I try to. I love reading, and I feel like that is a good use of time to read more. But then again, if you've just spent all day reading, and then it starts to like go dark outside and you haven't moved, you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So I think it's really tricky. Like when you don't have a structure in your life, it makes everything turn in on yourself.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm failing at this, I'm failing at
Yeah.
that. Why don't I have this? Why don't I have that?
Yeah.
So like that's probably harking back to like my idea of having your shit together as someone that has a structured life.
Yeah.
And I think I need to find my own way, because I think as much as people can tell you to do something, you need to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And I need to find my own way of like creating a structure. But it's so hard when you're an actor, because you can't really practice like acting by yourself in your room.
No.
And then it's like, oh, then you should be writing, and it's like, well,
That's nice
why?
in theory.
Yeah,
Give
and
me
then
an idea.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
and then now I feel like a failure because I'm not writing and I don't have good
exactly.
ideas and all of
Exactly.
this. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to be the next Michaela Cole. I think she's
Yeah.
phenomenal, but she was always an amazing writer.
Yeah.
She was writing before she was acting. And so then, I think I put all of that on top of myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's difficult. Like, I live with one of my best mates, Shiv, and he is like such a go-getter, so productive, always doing a million things. And he is in a job. I mean, he's creative as well. He's a director, but his job, he's like the resident director of Hamilton. So that is, he has a structure with that.
He's been given a structure.
He's been given a structure with that. So like he's going out every single day, and like it's draining and it's really hard work, but he goes to work every day and he does this and he does that and all of that sort of stuff. So then when you have that as well, you're a bit like, ugh.
You're having to be your own like boss and decision maker and all those things, and it takes a lot of energy. And you know, if you're not feeling mentally in a good place, to add that onto the stuff that you have to do can be really overwhelming. Like I've really found that. That's why I have to like gym classes have helped, or like volunteering helps and stuff like that,
so
because
good.
it's having something that you have to like report to.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like it's out of your hands a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Ant.
Hey.
You do a great job in editing this podcast, might I say. If people like the podcast, what do they need to do?
Like it.
What else?
Follow it on social media.
And then what?
They could share it with every single person they know.
Thanks, Ant. You can go back to your corner now.
Bye.
Okay, 3 things that make you feel like the shit.
3 things that make me feel like this shit. I think the first one is probably like clothes, like fashion.
Yeah.
Like I
You're
love.
a fashionista. Yeah.
And thank you. But I love clothes, and I
Yeah.
always have. Like even being a kid, like I just.
Why do you think that is? Is it like
I don't
dressing up and like
know.
it's almost like different characters? Or...
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
almost like it's just like a way of like expressing yourself, but also maybe if we really want to like delve into it,
Which we do.
maybe it is kind of like an armor
Yeah.
thing as well, and that like if people are looking at your clothes, they might like not like look at other stuff or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know, but also I do think it's like a part of my personality, and I think maybe that goes back to my idea of having your shit together, being well
Yeah.
presented.
Yeah.
I want to at least, because it's also about having control as well. If you're having control over, at least I've like feel good in what I'm wearing and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And like I quite like putting outfits together and stuff like that. And like I love like for the photo shoots and stuff, being able to work with the stylist and pick this and that. Like I
Yeah.
find that really fun.
Yeah.
Some people, it would be their idea of hell
Yeah.
and find it really overwhelming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just really like it. And I think if I'm wearing something that I love and I feel good in, then I'm a bit like,
Yeah.
I feel
You
good
kind of meet
today.
the outfit.
Yes.
Like, confidence-wise.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, it elevates your
Yeah.
confidence, definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, 2 more things.
Another thing that makes me feel like the shit. I think this is such a lame one.
Go on.
So I'm going to say compliments.
Okay, Joey, we think you dress really nicely.
No, and I just made like a horrible hole for myself because I have like a real like paradoxical relationship with compliments.
Okay.
I feel myself like going so red I can't breathe. I feel sick. So basically, I feel like I do kind of really crave and need like compliments. But as soon as I get one, like
can't take
I
it.
cannot take it.
Yeah.
It makes me feel ill.
Isn't that weird?
And I reject
I think
it.
so many people are like that. I think that's like
Yeah.
British culture.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
We're like needy little fuckers.
Yes,
But then we're
as-
like, no,
Yeah,
not
you're
me.
like, no, not me, please. Yeah, totally. And like,
It's weird,
I
isn't it?
can't take it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I want it to stop. And I also then I'm like, I don't really believe you, but then I'm like still desperately seeking that approval.
What is that?
I don't know what that is. I know.
I think that's common though.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I hope so, but I also don't hope so because it's shit to feel like that. But
I wonder if it's like lack of not to
yeah, no,
psychoanalyze you.
come on, let's go
No,
there.
I'm thinking about it myself. Like whenever I felt like that, it's like almost like a lack of self-worth
Mm-hmm.
that you're seeking validation because you want someone to tell you that you're good enough to
Yeah.
be there or whatever. And then but because your narrative of yourself, you're so used to feeling not good enough that
Mm-hmm.
then when someone tells you that you are, you're like, well, you've got to be lying.
Yes.
Like,
yes,
what
exactly.
do you want? Why are you lying to me?
Exactly
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I think as well, if you've got a compliment for something, so let's say acting for
Yeah.
example. So like with Outlander, every block usually will get like a new director.
Yeah, yeah.
They might come back like later on and do a few episodes or whatever. But the way it works usually is that you'll get like a new director
Yeah.
every like 2 episodes ish. So you might have had one director that's like you've really like gelled with,
Yeah.
really worked well with, and they've said something like really nice about like
Yeah.
a scene that you've done, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, thank
Yay.
God, like that's made me feel great. And then if you don't get that,
Yeah.
you are then like, oh my God, what am I doing? They hate me. I'm shit.
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
don't deserve to be here.
Completely.
And you start to spiral, I think,
Yeah.
and it's so ridiculous.
lack of it.
The lack of it,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you start thinking about that one compliment you did get, and then all the other times you didn't get one, and why you
Yeah.
didn't. And so, yeah,
You
very
just
weird.
overanalyze everything.
Overanalyze
Yeah.
everything. But I do think it is nice to get a compliment and to give compliments. I do think if you think someone looks nice, you should tell
Yeah.
them. If you think someone's great, you should tell them. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, one more thing.
Makes you feel like this shit. Music, I
Okay.
think, which is quite a general one, but
Yeah.
I think music is a great way to sort of just like help your mood anyway. Like if you are feeling shit and you want to put some like fun music to just like up your mood and like dance around the kitchen and have a great time, then that really works. But also if you want to like really lean into that
Yeah,
and
yeah,
put
yeah.
on some like sad music or whatever and really like cry it out, I
Yeah.
think that is really
It's like underscoring your life, isn't it? Like, life is a movie.
Life is always a movie, yeah. Absolutely that. And I
Yeah.
think one of my favourite things is being like with my friends, dancing, like just
Yeah.
crazy wild dancing
Yeah.
to music.
Yeah.
And that really makes me feel like the shit because I feel like just like really free, really happy and yeah.
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 One of like my favorite memories with you was like in Paris when we went to that
Oh
karaoke
my God,
place.
iconic.
And like someone was singing Mulan in French or something, and
Yeah.
I didn't know it. And
Yeah.
you and John
And
who else
Will.
was it? And
Will.
Will were all like screaming it at me.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, what is happening? This is so intense.
I know because I have like a horrible relationship with karaoke. I kind of
Yeah.
like I'm scared of karaoke because I love singing, but I feel like pressure to sing in karaoke.
Is it because you're a good singer?
Well,
Because I think karaoke is for the people who can't really sing, so it's like their opportunity to be rock
just let
stars.
go, yeah.
But I think if you're a good singer, then there's probably a pressure to like sound good.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that stresses me out, so
Yeah,
I'd rather
yeah.
just not like partake. So when I heard that we were going to a karaoke bar, I was a bit like, oh my God, no. And then we went, like, cut to me screaming at the top of my lungs in your face, like violently singing
This is like
Mulan.
day 2 of us knowing each other.
I know. And I was just having the time of my life.
Oh my
yeah.
God, yeah. And then we met that magician, that French
Oh my
magician.
God, wild.
Who like designed magic tricks or something like
Yeah,
that.
I
That
still
was such
don't
a great
know
evening.
how that works. Yeah, that was an
Yeah.
incredible evening, actually.
He still follows me on Instagram. I think he got married. Good for him.
Oh, you really missed your chance with the magician.
Okay, something that makes you lose your shit in a positive and a negative way.
So, in a positive way, I think just talented people.
Cool.
I'm always just in such awe of talented people, whether that's like acting or musicians, singers, writers. Like even when I'm reading a book, I like blows my mind like that people can create a world like
Yeah.
that and articulate in a way that I feel like I couldn't
Yeah.
do, and I'm just like, whoa, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me lose my shit. And like even and like when your friends are talented, I love so much. Like, so when I got to see you in Kansas genuinely do a bit of spoken word,
Yeah.
I was honestly like, I was like losing my shit
Oh my
to the point where
God.
I was crying, literally sat next to you in front of a crowd of
Oh my
fans.
God.
And I was like, I can't be crying, like I'm making this like about me. But I was just like, I really lost my shit because I was like, you are just so talented.
That's so
and
sweet.
so amazing. But yeah. No, but I so mean it. And I felt like, because at that time,
Yeah.
I was kind of going through like a bit of like a rough
Yeah.
kind of patch. And it really felt like you were speaking to me and you'd written about me, which is a testament to your talent, because I'm sure everyone probably felt
yeah.
like that. And so, yeah, I just love it when I'm
that's
around
so
talented
sweet.
people. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, and something that makes you lose your shit in a negative way.
People that are rude.
Yeah.
I just can't stand rude people, or people that are just mean for like the sake of it. And I know everyone's got shit going on in their lives, but I'm just
Yeah.
like, what is your problem? Like, for instance, like, I don't know why, this is a generalization, but I found often like the receptionists at a doctor's are always so mean and so
is
rude.
that?
And I'm like, I'm just trying to get an appointment.
I think it's like power, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like a taste of power.
Yeah, I think so.
And they're the gatekeepers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that weird like little power trip happens all the time, like ticket people on the trains and stuff,
Yeah.
and like not all of them obviously,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
sometimes you can just get people that are just in a bad mood, they want to be rude to you,
Yeah.
and like people in the street that will like barge past you or something. Like, my initial reaction is always to like smile and be like, oh, don't worry. But then if they turn around and like look as though it was my fault,
Yeah.
I will like change
Oh my
instantly,
God.
because I'm like, don't fucking be rude to
can't
me.
imagine you angry.
No, I know, I'm never really angry, but if I am, you don't want to see me angry. But if I feel angry, then
Yeah.
I used to be really confrontational. I'm not anymore.
Wow.
I used to quite like it. I used to
Yeah.
quite like sparring with someone.
Wow.
And like, if I knew that I was right, I didn't like the injustice
Yes,
of
yeah. I wonder if that's like a northern thing, because I'm the same. Like,
Yeah.
injustice really boils my blood.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, that's another thing that makes me lose my shit. Injustice.
I always find it mad about like because you're so right, like doctors, receptionists and stuff like that. And I'm like, surely this is where you should be the most kind.
Yeah.
Because people's health anxiety
Oh my God.
is like wild. So if someone's
Totally.
phoning you up and they think that they've got something wrong with them,
Yeah.
and then they're being met with like sassy Karen at the desk.
I know.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's so mad.
Yeah.
And the dentist as well. Maybe just specifically like the one that I go to, but the
Yeah.
dentists I think are even worse.
Wow.
Because there's one lovely person at the doctor's, and I always pray to get her.
God, it's like good cop, bad cop.
I know.
Which one are you gonna get?
Yeah.
Stress.
But yeah, that really annoys me.
Yeah. A moment that you found some shit out about yourself.
This is like such an interesting question. I found it quite difficult at first.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and I'm gonna choose like, it's not a fully like concrete answer, but basically for my 30th,
Right.
one of my best friends, Becky, who's like such an important person in my life, she made a video for me, and she got like every special person in my life, so all my friends, all my family, people that I'd worked with, like old teachers, literally
God.
like so many people,
Yeah.
to like say a message and say sort of how they felt about me. And it took her so long, and obviously like, you know what everyone's like you get a message like, oh, can you record a thing, and you're like, yeah, sure, and no one ever does it.
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
chased up and made sure she got every single
That's
person.
so sweet.
And I mean, I was probably quite like fragile anyway, because it was the morning after my 30th birthday, and Becky had stayed over, and me and her like went and crawled into Shiv's bed, and he got his laptop out, and Becky was like, I want to show you this video, and it
my
was honestly,
God.
it's like honestly like nearly 2 hours long. It's like a movie, like
So
an hour and a
loved.
half, I think. I know, yeah, or just people going on a lot. But it was like so long that she had to put it in like 2 different files. So it's like a part 1 and part 2. And I just couldn't stop crying. I was so overwhelmed. I guess
Yeah.
that comes down to, again, feeling like you're like not worthy almost. And like, I feel like I can never watch it again, because
Yeah.
it was overwhelmingly nice and lovely to
Yeah.
hear what people thought about you and how they
Yeah.
feel about you is so lovely and so overwhelming. And it felt like, yeah, it was like an experience that I don't know if I can go through again, because I feel like I'm not ready to hear that
Yeah.
again in a weird way. But
Yeah.
it was like, not to be too morbid, but it was almost a bit like a funeral.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
So funny, because I had this conversation the other night with I met this Swedish person.
Yeah.
And we were talking about podcasts, and he was talking about this huge one in Sweden. I can't remember what it's called, but he was saying the reason that it's so good is because it's just these two guys. I think one of them's a writer and one of them's something else, and they talk about each episode. It's unstructured. It's various different things, but it's been going on for years and it's massive. But one of them decided that for this episode he was going to he'd basically interviewed his friends, all of his friends and family members, and basically been like, imagine he's died and passed away, like, what would you have to say about this person?
Yeah.
And so it was all of these, like, but the way that he'd done it, like, these people were fully invested, and like as they were talking, they were like crying, talking about their friend and stuff like this, and he played it for him, and apparently it's just like the most beautiful thing to listen to, and like everyone in Sweden was talking about it apparently. But he was like, because it's that thing of like, you don't often get to hear how people feel about you, and then it's that classic thing of like, make sure you give people their flowers whilst they're alive, because so often people will come out of the woodwork to say brilliant things about you once you've passed away.
Yes.
And this is why he did it. He was like, I want you to know how loved you are.
Yeah.
I think it was for his birthday or something like that, morbid as fuck.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
it sounds like a similar thing.
Very,
like,
very
intense.
And exactly what you were saying, like, give people their flowers while they're still alive.
Yeah.
Like, and it really just reminded me that, like, as much as we think about other people in our minds, like, we don't often say it. And I'm like, but how do you not know that I think you're the most amazing person in the world? And like, and I do think you need to definitely tell people, like, whilst everyone is still here, because that was such a special thing for me.
It's exposing though as
it's
well.
Really
it?
exposing.
Yeah.
Really exposing, and just everything kind of floods your mind where you feel like I don't deserve all of this, like, kindness and niceness, because it was unrelenting in a nice way. Do you know what I mean?
Tortured by love.
Because I was just crying so much and was so overwhelmed. But I think that is the nicest thing I've ever been given.
Wow.
Like, if someone ever
That
was to
is
ask
so
me what's...
special.
Yeah, it's so special.
Yeah.
And I just love her so much, and so kind of her to do that, and for everyone to be involved in it. That's really special, and I feel very lucky that I have that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, shittest piece of advice you've received.
So I kind of get it now, but at the time, I think the way that it was said and what was said was shit.
Okay.
And made me feel like shit and very confused. So it was at drama school.
Yeah.
And it was like in a note session with like one of the teachers. And I think I'd had like a few good notes from people. So like after every like term, after you'd done like a showing, it's called, you weren't allowed to call it a show, it was a showing.
Okay.
Because you hadn't earned the right. Yeah, you haven't earned the right to do a show yet. And I've been getting good notes. Sometimes you get bad notes, sometimes you get good notes. But I've been getting good notes, so I was feeling good. I was like, yeah, whatever. Went into him, and he was like very quiet and sort of like quizzically like looking at me. And I was like quite awkward and was like, you all right? Like, what did you think? And he goes to me, why do you smile all the time? And I was like, oh, I mean, and he was like, yeah. He was like, why is that? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, and why can you never be by yourself? He was like, anytime I see you, you're always with someone.
What the fuck?
Literally saying it like this. And I was like, I don't know. I guess I like hanging out with people. And he was like, no. He was like, my note to you today is you've got to go out, you have to eat lunch by yourself, you're not allowed to speak to anyone for the rest of the day, and don't smile as much. And I was like,
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of like shell shocked and a bit like, what does that mean? And made me kind of like existentially like doubt everything about myself. And then like someone was like, hey Joe, you're right. And I was like, I'm not allowed to talk to anyone, so I'm just gonna go outside by myself. And sat by myself eating my lunch, like forcing myself like not to smile, because I think my face just generally like just is a smile. That's just like my like reset like button is a smile. But then I do get it now. He didn't say it in the best way, but I understand it now in the fact that maybe it was like quite people pleasy in a way, to be smiley all the time and to be happy all the time and to be always the person that lifted everybody else up.
Toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity, almost, yeah. maybe to that extent, and also maybe it's like a shell around yourself. It's almost like a veneer. It's like you're not letting people in properly, and you're not experiencing the training properly because you're just this smiley person all the time, and nobody is happy all the time.
Yeah.
I guess. And then the being with people thing is that I had no independence really. I wouldn't ever go to like the cinema by myself. I would never go for like the idea of going for something to eat by myself was hell. I wouldn't even get a coffee by myself. I always had to be with someone. From the minute I woke up to the minute I went to sleep, I always had to be with someone. Loved like having someone else in my bed, like just like platonically even. Do you know what I mean? Like
just company.
All the time. And now I'm so independent. I love like my own company. I love doing stuff myself. I love going to the cinema by myself. Like all of that sort of stuff, and that independence is what I really and that sort of self-assuredness. Obviously not all of the time, but the self-assuredness that I gained from being independent and knowing that I'm okay by myself. I can stand on my own 2 feet, and I have my own opinions actually, and I can stand by them, and I can kind of fight them. I don't always have to just follow the crowd and everything's fine and everything's great. And feel what you feel. Don't cover everything up. I think that's what I've taken.
I mean that sounds useful, but it sounds like a fucking brutal way of doing that.
You're like 19 as well, and you're like, what the hell?
I had a really similar thing. Like the principal of our school, we had tutorials with him. I mean, they were kind of wacky anyway. But his thing to me was that I was like giggly and like I'd be like, and it was the people pleasing thing. It was like wanting people to like me and like little old me, like I'm not taking up too much space and I'm only small and I'm not threatening kind of thing. And I think he would say it to me, and similar. I can't remember exactly what he would say, but it would along similar lines. I mean, problematic, but I think he told me to go out and buy myself a sexy dress and walk around Oxford in it. Which I did not.
Oh my God.
But I think what he was trying to say is like lean into yourself a bit more and like be more mature and like I think and like take up more space, own yourself a bit more. But I wonder, I wonder if that's like the backgrounds that we come from and stuff like that, and it's not wanting to take up too much space and wanting to people to like you because it's safe to be liked.
Absolutely. And I felt like, especially with the drama school I went to Guildhall, and the majority of people there went to private schools.
Yeah, same.
Really like the top schools. A lot of them had been to Oxbridge as well.
Wow, okay.
Beforehand. And a lot, I know, and there's little old me from the north. They had this confidence and this way of speaking to the teachers, which again, this is a generalization, but I think the way that they were schooled, they were always taught to debate everything and to have their opinions and sort of rally with the teachers, to sort of volley with the teachers. Whereas in my school, if you had an opinion that was different, it was wrong and you were told to shut up and like be quiet. And so having the confidence to talk to a teacher, then I feel like bleeds into the way that you are with casting directors and directors and everyone. Having this self-assured
like horizontal
energy.
As opposed to vertical.
Absolutely.
Relationships with people.
Exactly that, which I think, exactly as you said, coming from where we came from into that world, immediately I'd be like, oh, well, I'm just like the smiley, happy little northern lad. Because I can never be that.
I remember like, you know, when I got into drama school, we were taught to read different books, and one was The Right to Speak by some vocal coach. I can't remember what she's called.
It's Patsy, isn't it? She was my voice teacher at Guildhall.
Well, so I only read one chapter of it, but I always remember this standing out to me. And she basically said that she like travelled around the country, like, you know, looking at different people's voices, and she found like the people who had the like freest voices were like the young white kids who like went to Eton, and the people who had like the most held and like tight voices were like working class girls in like schools. But it's that thing of like they've been told not to take up space and they kind of hold their voices and stuff like that. And just on like a physiological level, how societal things affect us. So therefore when you're in a class, because I found it the same thing, like when I'm in a class with people who have had a different education to me or something like that, their ability to express how they felt, I found that so intimidating, and it made me feel stupid and I didn't want to say anything. Or even like I remember first getting into drama school and it being like, what theatre have you seen?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I live in Manchester and like it's expensive to go to the theatre.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
But other people were like, oh, I went to see this at this place and this place and this place, and then I'm like, oh my god, like I'm not a good enough actor, like I'm not being the good actor who's going to see all of those shows. But like financially it wasn't possible, and like getting a fucking train ticket down to London was just like never going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that massively affects how you take up space within a room. And it's only now, actually, I was having this conversation, I met up with some friends from drama school the other day, but it's only now that I'm feeling able to walk into rooms and have a right to be there. And like that has been a long process. Drama school didn't help it, actually, but like, you know, doing Outlander has, and like doing this podcast has, because so often I'm now meeting people who are quote unquote intimidating, but actually like knowing that you have a service to offer them, and it becoming equal and growing in that way is helping so much. But at that point it was so hard to come by.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think I was the exact same, and I think again it is just something that it comes with time and comes with experience and stuff, and I am better at it now. But I still feel, I don't know, I still have like I think that's my initial reaction, is to say I have like an important phone call with someone, or like I'm just about to do like an interview over Zoom or whatever, I'll like be so anxious and panicked and like sweating.
They're not going to like me.
Yeah. And it's like this need to be liked.
It's mad. I think when it's been so ingrained within you, it takes a lot of work to undo it, because it's a safety mechanism as well, I think. Like I remember, I think I had a therapist who said to me, like, your go-to state is fawn. So you've got like fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and fawn's the fourth one. So when you're in a situation where you feel scared or like a sense of threat, some people go into like fight and they like become like more confident and stuff like that, or some people like run away, and some people freeze. But actually your thing is you go into like insane people pleasing, and I think you become so malleable to what other people are saying, because you're like, please like me, like and it almost becomes like this manic kind of fawning over people. But it's something that you've learned. It's like a maladaptive thing that you've learned to keep yourself safe.
So
it serves you at some point, but actually it's trusting when that threat response comes up to like kind of question it and to like reassure yourself so that you can kind of settle back into something more neutral.
Yeah, for sure.
Shit that you wish you'd known sooner.
So this shit I wish I'd known sooner is kind of just everything that we've been talking about, and even though I know it, it's still about learning it and living it. So kind of like the value of your self-worth isn't solely found in the opinion of others. Yeah. Because I do think you can't go through life being like, I'm me, deal with it, and I'm just going to be a prick to everyone. Yeah. I think, you know, you should be kind to people. I think you absolutely should have your opinions and debate those, but you shouldn't like fight people down. You know, I hate people that will be like so adamant that they're right, that they're not malleable at all. They're so fixed and they won't hear like a discussion. So they might go through life not caring what people thinks about them, which sure, but I don't think that's a great way to be personally. So there is a little bit that I still hold on to of caring what people think about me, but not solely finding my worth in that. Yeah. You have to find your self-worth from within, not to sound like a guru.
Very Enya.
Yeah, very Enya. And I think that's easier said than done, definitely. I think find things that make you just feel joyful. Like I love going on the paddleboard with my dog and just like looking up at the mountains, and going on hikes with my dad or with my friends, or being at home with my family. I'm very close to my family. I like love them so much, my mum, dad and my sister. And I'm very lucky that I've got wonderful friends as well, and finding your joy in all of that rather than caring so much about what other people think of you, how you look, all of that. And I think it's really difficult in this industry in particular. I mean, we've spoken about it already. It's really difficult to not let your self-worth be dictated by other people, and not to feel like you have any autonomy over your life, because even when you've got a job that you're like so grateful for,
Yeah.
you then don't have autonomy over like different things in your life.
Yeah.
And so I remember listening to a podcast once where it said like an actor is only ever happy for the first 5 minutes after they've been told they've got a job.
Yes.
And it's so true.
It's so true.
It's so true.
Yeah, because then the anxiety immediately comes in
yeah.
with like imposter syndrome
Yeah.
and like, what if it was an accident?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there
I'm
and
gonna
they're
be
gonna
shit.
realise.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
even to the point where then you're so comfortable on a job and you're like, oh God, I've been here for
Yeah.
hours. I just want to finish this scene. And you're
Hugh
like,
Ross says that a collective noun for a group of actors is a complaint of actors.
yeah,
And I love that.
that is so
it's so true, isn't it?
It's so true. And I remember I've said this before, but I remember like when I was a kid working with like older actors. I remember them like if we'd be in tech for like hours and hours on
Yeah.
end, or we'd be on set waiting around for hours. I remember them complaining so much, and me literally being like, what are you complaining about? This is so fun. Like I love
Yeah.
acting and I love like being here. And like obviously you can't be like that all the time.
Yeah.
But you have to remind yourself of that sometimes. I think it's so so easily a job can become a job. It's something that you like chase after for so long. And it's so interesting how quickly it can sometimes become a job.
Yeah.
I was speaking to a friend of mine recently that's doing this amazing play, which actually I saw the other day, and just I loved it so much, and it really like invigorated me just about like, not that I was disheartened with acting really, but I just like to get back in like a rehearsal room and do a play. I loved it so much. But I think from the outside, a play can do that to someone, and it's amazing. But if you're doing a long run of that play, of course it becomes a job after a while. And some days you'll feel it and some days you won't. Just finding stuff that brings you joy outside of acting or within acting, just always look for the joy in life.
Love that. Okay, we're at the point of a shit shot.
Yeah.
So that's a photo that to the outside eye looked like you have your shit together, but at the actual time you definitely didn't. Okay,
Instantly.
immediately.
I need to show you.
Yeah, you can
I've got
do.
coffee all over my phone. It's not working.
Chaos.
Chaos always. Okay. So I'm at London Fashion Week.
Oh my gosh, stunning. When was this?
This was, when was it? It might say
2023, 24th of September 2023.
24th of September 2023.
And you're wearing a lovely little short
got
suit.
a lovely little Calvin Klein suit with shorts on, which my dad was quite concerned about, but I thought it was cool at the time.
It's cute.
Yeah, and so it was London Fashion Week, so I was like trying to give you a bit of fashion, and it was the Evening Standards party.
Yeah.
So like really fun, really exciting, and I was like I was taking my flatmate. And I was waiting that day for some good news from my family. I'm not going to go like fully into detail about it because it's not like fully my story to tell.
Yeah.
So waiting for some good news, and it had been like a few hours after what we were expecting, and I was having to leave for this party. I think I was being picked up, and I was waiting, and I was like, I can't leave until I've had this phone call, and I was starting to feel really anxious about it because I'm like, it must be bad news now. It's not good news because otherwise we'd have had this call already. And I called my parents, and then they hadn't heard from my sister. And it was sort of waiting, and it felt like this horrendous limbo.
Yeah.
And then I finally got the phone call, and it was really horrendous. It wasn't good news. It was like really horrendous news. And I was just like burst into tears, like crying my eyes out in this. I then felt so fucking stupid being in this like suit, all dressed up, like ready to go to this like party.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was like get straight home, but I couldn't. It was like too late to even get a train home.
Yeah.
I couldn't get home. My family were like, do your thing.
There's also nothing you can do.
There's
at that
nothing
point,
I could have done at that point. I didn't want to let people down.
Yeah.
It was like an important thing that I was supposed to do, and I didn't want to let people down. And I felt so torn. I felt so sad, and I couldn't stop crying. And I was like, right, I'm going to get the first train home tomorrow. I'm going to go to this thing. So I called my flatmate, who was waiting in a hotel at Green Park for me. And I told him everything, and he was like, right, what do you need from me? And I was like, I just need you to pretend like everything is okay. Just pretend I haven't said anything. Because I said, the worst thing would be for someone to pretend everything is okay, but like look at you with that sad, pitying look. I wouldn't have been able to stand that. So Shiv, he's one of my best mates, he's such an amazing person. He was the perfect person. I arrived at this hotel, he had an espresso martini waiting. He wasn't like, are you sure you're okay, you want to do this? He was immediately like, hey, like da-da-da,
nice,
fun, da-da-da. We were just having like a nice time, and I just had to switch into PR mode, professional mode, and I was like, I just need to go in, and like meet all these people that I need to meet and like do the thing.
Yeah.
So I got to this venue and there's like loads of photographers and you have to pose for these photos.
So wild, isn't it?
And just before I had to have all my photos taken, I turned to him and I was like, "Can you tell I've been crying?"
Yeah.
And bless him, like, because obviously you could. And he went, "No." He said, "You actually look quite hauntingly beautiful." And I just like made me laugh, and I was just like, "Okay, thanks." And then there's like Getty images of me at this party, and like I just look like not with it, but maybe I don't. Maybe that's why I used it as a shit shot, because I think other people seeing this, you're like at this like huge thing for London Fashion Week. You're doing well. You're on this big show. Now you're going to these events. You're being photographed, all of this stuff. You're with all these like famous people at this famous party. It looks like you're doing amazing, and inside I literally was just like
just trying to hold it together.
I was a complete wreck, really. But I just had to switch into like professional mode, did my thing, and then I went home, and I ended up staying at home for like a month. It was really really it was a really, really hard time. Yeah. But you would never know, thanks to Instagram.
Thank you for sharing that. And like that this is the reason that I include this question, is because I think particularly within this industry and any kind of public facing role, like, I mean, we interviewed a politician the other day.
Wow.
And she was saying a similar thing, like that you're having all these photos taken of you, and photos are the weirdest fucking thing anyway, because there's this expectation to smile even if you've not got something fucking awful going on. You might just be feeling shit. There's this expectation to smile, and it's already a lie. So then the layers that, you know, you're trying to present yourself as this glossy put together thing, which often we have to do within this industry, and there's 1,001 things going on underneath it. And you know, with social media and stuff like this, like, you might put that picture up and you might get a comment that says you look amazing, but then you might also get a comment that's like, why the fuck are you wearing that? And like, people have no concept of what is going on underneath that thing. And that's why I think it's so important that we talk about these things, because like, it's so humanizing, and it's so I think everyone can relate to situations that they've been in where they've just kind of had to keep it together for one reason or another. And I think it's important to share those things. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, Joey, have you got your shit together?
No. No, I don't, but I feel okay with not having. I don't feel like I'm spiraling out of control or having a crisis. I feel like, you know, just take every day a day at a time, and like, some days you feel better, some days you don't.
It's a sliding
and, like,
scale.
Exactly. So no, I definitely don't have my shit together, and I don't feel that anybody really does, and I think that's okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.